What's up, everyone? Welcome to Level 7. It is time for another edition of the Agents of Fandom podcast. My name is TJ Zwarich. I'm your host, editor-in-chief of agentsofandom.com. And oh my goodness, we are eating so good right now. 3 episodes of the podcast in 1 week. First off, covering Secret Invasion, Blue Beetle, and Across the Spider-Verse. Then, of course, breaking down the most recent Mandalorian episode with our good friend Matt Aguiar, host of Comic Book Nation. And now, time to dive into all the announcements from Star Wars Celebration. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, best friend, Garrett Blaney. How you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, we talked to the universe, said, hey, we had a little bit of trouble with the live shows lately, the content, we need a little bit more. How about next week? And here we are, 3 shows in a week, bumping it up, making up for lost time, making everything right with the world. And boy, eating well almost feels like a downplay of the situation, because some really exciting news for people like us. I won't say anything else. We'll talk about it more going forward, but I can't wait.
Very exciting, especially if you are fans of Star Wars Rebels. And we brought in a fellow Agent of Fandom to join in with us. You know him from his Comic Corner up on the Agents of Fandom YouTube page. Damon, I was about to say Damon Tweet. Damon Streams. Damon Gray, there it is. How you doing, Damon?
I'm doing great. I just figured if we all just wanted to just live it up and revel in the rebel moments, like, the 3 of us, we can just go ham on why this is so amazing.
It's incredible to see these stories finally come together and appear in live action for the first time. And it was so fun to wake up to this news. Obviously, Star Wars Celebration 2023 is happening in London, England. Our own Layla and Jaden are there getting all of this news to us and having the time of their life. So I'm so happy that they've gotten to experience an amazing time down there. And we just get to wake up down there. I guess England is up there,
over
west,
there,
east there, over
yeah,
there.
I don't know. Maybe, yeah.
Depends on the direction you're going from, where you live. But let's start things off with, I think, the most exciting announcement for us. Like, there's been some pretty damn big ones from Star Wars Celebration that we're going to cover here. But starting things off, we finally got the Ahsoka trailer that we've been waiting for. The very next day at the Ahsoka panel, it has been announced. Now, in this trailer, we just get the look at the back of a blue head. And now we know this blue head is going to be the heir to the Empire. This is someone, as Rebels fans, we are very familiar with in Grand Admiral Thrawn. And he's going to be the overarching villain for this series, the overarching villain for this kind of phase of Star Wars storytelling. And now we finally get confirmed that Lars Mikkelsen, the same actor who voiced Grand Admiral Thrawn in animation, is going to be playing him in live action as well. We get the footage. We see Sabine. We see Hera. We see a little baby figure of Ezra. And in addition to that, like, we get Chop. We get the whole squad here. Garrett, I want to throw this to you. You told me this is a 10 out of 10 trailer. This is everything you were hoping for. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, I was so excited. Everything that you felt about the Across the Spider-Verse trailer is everything I felt for the Ahsoka trailer. So I could finally relate. Not that I didn't love the Across the Spider-Verse trailer, because I did. But you were like, I need to talk for hours and hours and hours about this. And that's how I feel about the Ahsoka trailer. I will say, though, however, waking up today to the Lars Mikkelsen news, I know that's what I expected. That's what I wanted. I think that is the only choice that makes sense. So I think that's a smart move. But
it was nice to get that confirmation after he's like denied it publicly 4 times.
Yeah, but I will say it felt like the trailer felt really great, and one of my favorite parts about it was such a gentle tease of Thrawn that it was like we've left who's playing it open for you guys like for so long, and we're just gonna hang on to that a little bit longer. And then the next day they revealed it, so it just felt like, all right, well, you should have just showed his face in the trailer then to just like, if because if you're gonna save it, that's a cool trailer moment to save, and then to just come out and say the next day that it's him feels a little bit weird. But I don't want to harp on any of the negativeness I feel, because that's the only bit of it. So I'll get that out of the way right off the bat, and then just go into what was a hell of a trailer. Wow. Boy, is it great to see these characters again. I love Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka. I think that's an incredibly beautiful realized vision. But to see the other members of the team is just something that's hard to explain. Like we've seen Ahsoka in live action a couple of times thus far, so the shine there isn't as nice. But to see Natasha Bordizzo as Sabine was, to me, a highlight. That just with the trailer already feels like it's going to be an RDJ Iron Man kind of thing. Like I saw Sabine from Rebels jump to life onto the screen. It was literally that copy paste for me. So I can't be more excited about that. I'm so excited for Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Hera. I think that's a great casting. I think she's going to be able to do incredible things with that character. And really, there's so much to say. I need structure here, because I'm shooting myself off into the galaxy. But I think there's going to be a lot at play with the villains. I was kind of interested with that aspect, and how we're bringing back Diana Lee Inosanto's character, the Elsbeth character, because the way we leave her in The Mandalorian, it's almost like it was almost like a kill shot. And I remember feeling like, oh, that felt a little bit weird and out of character for Ahsoka. And then to come back and be like, okay, she is a disciple of Thrawn, a very close servant. And it feels more like I talked about this in my article on agentsofandom.com as well, my breakdown of the trailer, is that it feels more like I'm going to release you as bait kind of thing, and use you to get back to Thrawn, because that's really the big question, is where has Thrawn and Ezra been, and how are we going to get back to them?
And we'll get into some of these individual villains later, because they're honestly the ones that I know the least about, with from when this trailer got released. Obviously, the red saber wielding Balin, the different female Sith antagonists that we get in here. We know Thrawn's the overarching villain. We'll touch more on him later. I got an article coming to agentsofandom.com where I not only talk about Lars Mikkelsen reprising the role, but dive into the history of Grand Admiral Thrawn a little bit. The other thing I kind of love in that you talked about Rosario Dawson and what she brings to this character. What I love is that Ashley Eckstein, the voice actor for Ahsoka Tano, she helped create this character as much, if not more, than George Lucas, Dave Filoni, anyone. And so it's so cool to see someone who's such a mega Star Wars fan and mega Ahsoka fan like Rosario Dawson take on that mantle and kind of do it justice properly. Damon, what did you, before we dive into the specifics and some of the Easter eggs, what did you think of the trailer?
Man, this trailer got me hyped. I haven't been this excited about a project since Hawkeye, and if you know me, that's like one of my all-time favorite projects ever.
When you said that, I was like, woo!
I mean, it's true. It is true, because this is one of those things where it's like you see it on a page, you see it in animation, but it's different when it's in live action. Everything's always different when you see those characters in live action. And Rebels really is by far one of my favorite, if not it is my favorite Star Wars property ever.
Yeah, same.
The casting, it's just amazing how well these things translate into live action. Sabine looked amazing. Hera looked amazing. Chopper's an easy one because droids always look amazing, but it's just one of those where it's like, Chopper looks amazing. We already saw Zeb in The Mandalorian. He looked amazing, and I assume we will see more of Zeb in the Ahsoka show in some capacity.
Do you think the reason why they plopped Zeb specifically, spoilers for The Mandalorian, but do you think the reason why they plopped Zeb specifically in that episode just for a little bit because they realized that was the one that didn't appear in the trailer?
No. I think it was more just a hint and a nod of what's to come. Yeah, the timing works out in the end. But I think it was just more of a hint and nod. I do totally think that Zeb will be making an appearance in some capacity in the show. But it's just it looks so good, man. It looks so good. Even like the Sith wielding lightsabers, they were a little orangey, but I'm like looking at them like, the lightsabers in Rebels weren't perfect either. I'm taking this as like an Easter egg on its own. I know it's early CGI days, but still, I was like,
there's still time to touch
I
that
don't
up.
care anymore. This is
A
amazing.
little orangey too. I wonder if that could actually be pointing to something, like maybe they're not supposed to be fully red.
I mean, there's only one other. If you really want me to jump off a deep end, like the deep end into the abyss of the ocean, there's only one other Jedi I know that had an orange lightsaber. An exclusive orange lightsaber. It's not happening. But that's my deep end.
Touching things here, if they start touching on in live action lore to the different meanings of different saber colors, just with them introducing a character who in live action now who has different color lightsabers than we've seen before. It's somewhat possible with them introducing new characters for them to do that here,
especially with the history of what a white lightsaber means, right? It would be cool to see that process come about. That's all I'm saying.
Well, and Garrett, you wrote up a very interesting potential theory in your breakdown article on agentsofandom.com of the Ahsoka trailer. If we are touching on the different lightsaber colors here, if it's a little orangey, we've seen Lucasfilm and Marvel, anybody from Disney, switch things up in trailers before. Like, Garrett, what if one of these lightsabers gets a little purpley?
Yes, so I did make a theory, a postulation in my article that, so it seems to me that there's 3 possible Sith antagonists in the trailer. There's Ray Stevenson's and Ivana Saknos. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that name. And to me, it seems like they could be a master apprentice kind of situation, like a rule of 2 kind of thing there. But the third one we see has like an Inquisitor lightsaber, which is one of the circular spinny ones, which implies to me that is not the apprentice of anyone. However, there is a certain character from the Legends canon who was on the dark side and ends up coming over to the light side and then marrying a certain Skywalker. Could we see Mara Jade? I don't know.
It'd be pretty cool. Damon, what do you think about the possibility?
I think it's there. I mean, like, look, this is the fun part of fandoms, right? Is you can look ahead. That's why this weekend is one of the most fun weekends of the year. It's why Comic-Con is so fun, is because you can just look ahead and you're like, anything is possible right now. Yeah, sure. It's possible. Sure. The answer is sure. But whatever's yeah, sure. I'm just going to go with that.
I mean, we've seen Filoni reach into the bag of Legends canon before and toss characters in. So why not? Though I will say, even on my end, it was a bit of a reach to do that. We are that broaches into new territory, right? Where now we might have to cover a situation with Luke Skywalker, and then do we do a full, CGI de-aging thing? Do we cast someone else? Like, no, we're getting into a lot of problems there. So I do ultimately think that no, but it's a fun postulation. I will say, as we're on this train, to backtrack a little bit, is your question about Zeb, TJ. Do I think that he was included in that episode because they knew that he wasn't going to be in the trailer? No. But I think that he was included in that episode because he is working with the New Republic, obviously. and he was going to be in the Rangers of the New Republic show, and that's how he was going to be introduced to popular audiences. And when that was no longer a possibility, they needed to say, "Oh fuck, we need them to know who this person is, or have seen him before in some capacity," and that's how why he was in that episode.
I think that's perfectly spot on, Garrett. I think that's exactly the reason for it. And this is just so exciting that this is all kind of coming together towards the same timeline. Now, when is the timeline of Ahsoka? It takes place at the same time as this Mandalorian timeline. It kind of converges together. We're going to see these characters interacting with each other. That doesn't mean that Din Djarin is going to be in Ahsoka. We have no idea, but it brings that possibility to the fold that these are happening at the same times. And that was one of the other announcements from Star Wars Celebration, is that there is going to be a movie set in this timeline. Dave Filoni's live action film directing debut. It is time for him to bring his babies, his characters of Clone Wars, Rebels, and the Mandoverse all together for his big culmination event level film set in this timeline. Wow, we're getting these characters like Grogu, Din Djarin, Ahsoka.
So
these are going to be in a live action movie.
This basically confirms what I've been saying in the past couple of weeks on the pod, when we've been talking about The Mandalorian, in terms of this season feels like we're finally building towards what the ultimate plan was. And it's apparent now, and it was announced that it was always the plan to fill in the gaps between the trilogies, and how we've devolved from how we went from Empire to New Republic to First Order. And that's confirmed with this, basically. And with the eras and the distinction of the eras, which also is really cool. I can't wait to get into that.
And while there are flaws that are a lot more noticeable and take away from the series a lot more for some people in season 3 of The Mandalorian, in terms of their pacing and how they bounce back and forth to different storylines, I think that's kind of important to note. Is season 3 is very much like a season 1. It's like a season 1 building to this event that we're about to see. And so while, yes, it's important to Din Djarin and Grogu hooked people on this show. And when the focus is not on Din Djarin and Grogu, that takes away from it for some people. And I think that's totally fair. But it's also important to remember that they're going to have a movie coming out in 2 years, 2024, 2025, whenever this is going to come out. So they need to pace it out at a point so that it connects at the proper time. And so I think that we're seeing a little bit of that in this season of The Mandalorian. But what's so exciting about this movie is we're going to finally get to see all these characters, and we know Thrawn's going to be the overarching villain in Ahsoka, maybe not the main villain from the get-go, but the overarching one. And it kind of seems like, when this event level movie happens, that's when we will see the heir to the Empire, Grand Admiral Thrawn, as the main big bad for this movie, with hopefully the Ghost Crew, our rebels, and Ahsoka, and our favorite Mandalorians, Bo-Katan and Din Djarin come in there to help as well. What are you hoping to see from this movie, Damon?
Mandavengers assemble. They're all up against Thranos. This is all a big event level movie, guys. This is something that we're all dreaming of. Could you imagine Din Djarin and Mando and Baby Yoda, Grogu, on the big screen, on the silver screen? Wouldn't that be crazy? Wouldn't that make so much money? Yes, it will. And it's going to be great. And I'm so excited for Dave Filoni, because the man has beyond earned this moment, right?
Oh my God, yes.
Created so much lore for Star Wars fans. The Clone Wars, his baby. Rebels, his baby.
He's the prodigal son.
He is
Star Wars.
One of the parents of the Mandalorian franchise that then spun out to all of this, right? He's so deserved and earned this, and I'm so excited for it. What I am expecting from this, it really depends where we are in a timeline. and like how far into the future is like 10 years, or storytelling wise, like how far deep into this.
So like we know essentially all we know at this point is that it will be after episode 6, before episode 7, for like those who aren't kind of aware of that timeline.
Yeah, and then like we all look at it and it's like, all right, are they really going to go deeper into the lore of Palpatine's like cloning technology, which is kind of like, that's the big elephant in the room with the sequel trilogy, right? How are we going to explain this?
And they've been laying the groundwork for that for years, because it's been in the Bad Batch, the Bad Batch, and in Mando with the Grogu and the cloning and the Dr. Pershing and everything. Like it has all been building up to this. And something that what's his name? Ian McDermott, is that his name?
The guy who voices Palpatine.
Palpatine.
The guy who is Palpatine.
Yes, the guy who is Palpatine. He said some things today, you know, that are pretty funny, and referencing the somehow I return stuff. I'm gonna backtrack, and I'm gonna add on to what I've been saying about, you know, all of these Mandoverse shows are to bridge that gap. That fucking line haunts Dave Filoni, and the more every day that we move away from that line, the more I know in my heart that it haunts him, and he's doing everything he can to fix that, and he's going to show us how. He's going to show us how he returned, so that it makes sense, so that it's not just some bullshit fucking somehow it's not the biggest, you know, entertainment meme for the rest of ever. That's what it's all leading up to.
That's so Star Wars too, because that's what the entire prequels and then a whole show is based off of, a throwaway line in episode 4. That was this entire movie what Filoni created was based off a throwaway line. It's so him to do this. Yeah. And it's just, he look at that and he's like, yeah, it may theoretically haunt him. But he's that challenge accepted on that one.
I have Star Wars greatest villain out in space somewhere. He's going to be the guy because that's how it's got to end, right? Thrawn's got to be the guy to somehow be the one to put in the places to, you know, restore power. He's the heir to the Empire. They're literally telling us in the trailer. He is the heir to the Emperor. He's the one that's going to put the pieces back in place. And that's how it's going to end, with some kind of, you know, and we got to figure out what the hell Snoke's deal is too, and what's going on there. So it's all going to be explained. And I saw a big picture. I feel like a crazy person when I watched this. Like, I was injected with the truth. Like, I now see the big picture. I'm strapped in. I got my seatbelt on. I'm along for the ride, and it's beautiful.
Look, here's the thing. We've been seeing the future here with this Star Wars content for a while now. I got to give some kudos to us, a shout out to us with one of the very first semi-viral posts that we've ever made when we started the Agents of Fandom.
So true.
Because we're so great, make sure you're following the Agents of Fandom wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching this on video form, hit the like button, subscribe, notification bell, all that great stuff. Honestly, you should be watching this episode specifically in video form up on YouTube, because I don't know what it is. I don't know what's going on with my hair, the amount of facial hair that I have, the way this shirt fits.
He does look handsome.
I look better today than I usually do, and I don't really know what it is, but I'm going to try and channel this more often. So make sure you check it out in YouTube form. But we made a post literally a year ago, and it was just titled, it was captioned, "The New Jedi Order." And it was Rey Skywalker right in the middle. It was Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order's Cal Kestis. Jedi Survivor, of course, coming out here at the end of the month in April. Make sure you stay tuned to agentsofandom.com for Adam Blevins' review. Adam's not with us today for the show, but he'll be back joining us in the future, and that's where you'll be able to find our review for that game is from him. But it had Cal, it had Rey, it had Ahsoka, and it had who was the fourth?
Was it Grogu?
I don't think it was Grogu. I think we had one more on there that wasn't. It'll come to me.
You spent
Ezra Bridger.
And Ezra, of course.
And Ezra, of course. And so before we dive into the new movie that was announced, that was going to cover all of these things, Rey Skywalker is going to return. She's going to be leading a new Jedi Order as Master Jedi Rey Skywalker, set 15 years after Episode 9. Thrilling stuff. But before we get into that movie specifically, I want to ask about Cal Kestis, this character that we are all hoping to see in live action. Why would they make Cal Kestis look exactly like Cameron Monaghan, the actor voicing and playing him, if they weren't going to use him in live action at some point?
Something I ask myself almost every night, TJ, before I go to bed.
So to Garrett and Damon, I want to ask this to both of you. I'll go Garrett first. Where do we see Cal first? Is it Ahsoka? Is it this movie set in the Mando universe? Or will it not be until this new Jedi Order is formed?
Oh, wow. Okay, that's a tough question because now I feel like I gotta do my math and like figure out my time periods and my timelines, because his Fallen Order is set 10 15 years after Order 66,
about 5 years after Order 66, and this is supposed to
years.
take place about 10 years after Order 66 is Jedi Survivor is.
And how many years are we after Order 66 in Mando?
A lot.
So I don't know. I don't think we're seeing him in.
He gonna be dead.
Yeah, I don't think we're
Force
seeing
Ghost. Maybe Force Ghost, but he won't be alive.
So if Cal is 20 years old in Jedi Survivor, Cal is 25 years old 25 in 20 in Jedi Fallen Order, 25 in Jedi Survivor, which is, and the Mandalorian is set about 30 years after that.
Look, if Ahsoka can be there, Cal can be there.
Cal in the Mando universe, Cal Kestis would be in his 50s or 60s.
The killer is, you're talking, I mean, now we're getting so deep into the weeds. You're talking humans versus non-humans.
That's what we do here. We're in the weeds. Fuck it. Let's talk about it. Humans versus non-humans.
I mean, I think it makes the most sense personally, just because of how old he is now, unless we're just going to wait another 20 years to get him at the right age in real life
because that would have
happen.
been dumb planning from the get-go if that's the case.
Then Force Ghost.
I refuse to believe that that's the case.
Then Force Ghost. Easiest way to handle this. Especially
Cal Kestis is either going to have played a very pivotal role in Grogu's childhood along the way that we don't know about yet, in flashbacks. That's who. What was the Jedi who saved his name again?
Oh boy,
disappointment. That Ahmad Best. His character, either Cal Kestis is going to show up and that's who he passes Grogu onto for a bit or something like that. That's going to happen, or
Kelleran
Beck, thank you. Or he's going to be an old ass man who's the crazy, or maybe both in the Jedi Order movie, and he's Rey's old dude that she brings in to help check, but he's going to be coming in at some point. And I would love if the live action version of we get is make him up a little bit and he's in his 50s, but the Force makes him look a little bit younger in this Heir to the Empire movie.
The thing I would have to really truly think about, I know we all want to see it, but does it fit with Cal Kestis' story of what he is aiming to do and where we left off and where we will be seeing him when we play the games in a few weeks, right? I think that's would be the ultimate decider on what is he still trying? Is he still trying to go around looking around the galaxy for force wielding children? Because that's where we left off of him, right?
Right.
So right now,
and if it is,
Ahsoka
he's probably going to friggin' find Grogu.
Maybe. And
what if Grogu's in Jedi Survivor?
Maybe. Sure. Sure. But it just if we do see it, I just want to make sure the story itself makes sense. And we're not just shoehorning Cal in here.
Why are we not just making it up?
I now believe Cal Kestis is going to show up in episode 7 of season 3 of The Mandalorian. I've just convinced myself in that in my brain right now.
We're setting ourselves up for some hard
That's the expectation that I've just given myself. But let's talk about the new Jedi Order that Rey is going to be built, because as many qualms as you can have with the sequel trilogy here, which is rightfully so. Some people love some people love The Last Jedi, some people hated The Last Jedi, depending on how you think it went with the story. Overall, pretty good movie. The Force Awakens, decent start, had its faults, but a very good, exciting entry. And then they botched it in the third because they had absolutely no cohesion with directors, cohesion with story.
If you give Rian Johnson a trilogy, it's successful. If you give J.J. Abrams a trilogy, it's successful. You fuck them both by splitting it up like that. That's the bottom line.
100%.
If anyone doesn't see that, I hate them.
What is true, though, is regardless of how you feel about these movies, Rey's a great character, and I'm really, really excited to see Daisy Ridley back as Rey. First thing, let's touch on, and I mean, I'll throw Emma wrote up a great article on this up at agentsofandom.com. But one of the first things I want to touch on, speaking of this Mandoverse and all that we're building up to, will we see Grogu, who will be about 95 years old, 5-10 years younger than Yoda when he started his Jedi training? Will he be part of this Jedi Order that Rey Skywalker is building?
Yes, I think so. And I say that because we've seen him already reject the Jedi Order in favor of the Mandalorian way. We know that it's not his cup of tea. We know that the old ways he doesn't vibe with. But that's not what this new Jedi Order should be. If it is, what the hell are we doing?
Exactly. If it is, I'm fucking done with the Jedi.
Yeah, I might just go watch Star Trek. I don't know. That's just an egregious error to me. That's just an egregious misstep. Like, yeah, we're forming again, and it's entirety, and it's the exact same because they did it well. And yes, like, no, there needs to be a change. We need to learn from people like Ahsoka, from Jedi like Ahsoka, who break off and say, hey, they have the right idea, but the execution is just fucking miserable. People like Ezra, who know, it's not always about this strict, rigid structure. Sometimes you have to do what feels right in your heart, and you have to sometimes you have to straddle the line between dark and light. It's
introduce these people to Bendu.
Yes, so exactly. We have a day named after Bendu in the Star Wars universe, so we need to be heeding his teachings more closely. Methinks.
Yeah, I'm with you there as well. Damon, my question for you then is, one, do you think Grogu is going to be part of this new Jedi Order? But two, what's his saber going to be, and will it be the dark saber?
Yeah, so I mean, I also wrote an article for AOF, and it was my 3 hopes for this movie.
Your 3 wishes, Damon.
Not your 3 hopes. Because it's supposed to be a joke off of A New Hope, Garrett. It got cut on the cutting room floor.
Didn't translate well
One
to
of
the
them,
audience.
I know, I understand. So, yeah, I do truly think that Grogu will be a part of the new Jedi Order, at least in this training, right? It makes sense with how old he will be. And I think Rey would be the perfect Jedi Master for Grogu, considering Rey's whole story is about founded family, right? Grogu's whole thing is also about founded family and also accepting who he is and who he is becoming. So, yeah, I would love to see little Grogu wield a Darksaber that's 5 times the size of him. We may have to make some adjustments on that saber, potentially. But yeah, sure. Give him the giant dark sword.
What I'm most excited about the prospect of this happening is why are we so excited about this Rebel stuff? Well, because that's our core Star Wars. We love Star Wars. That's our favorite part. We get to see Ahsoka. We get to see the Ghost Crew. That's what we became Star Wars lovers based on. Now, the exciting thing, and like when we get to see an Obi-Wan remake, that's so exciting. Why? Even if we don't love certain aspects of the story, why is it so exciting to see Darth Vader and Obi-Wan go at it? Is because we grew up on the prequel trilogy.
Hayden Christensen.
We grew up on that stuff, and we were little kids, and so getting to see Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor again, it's so wonderfully exciting.
It was.
When we get to see this movie come out in however many years, the kids that grew up as Rey Skywalker being their Skywalker, who then thought, I want to watch The Mandalorian because I loved these Star Wars movies with Rey, and oh my gosh, look how cute this little baby is. I love Grogu so much. Grogu and Rey, that's who I was raised on, and those are my two favorite Star Wars characters. And getting to see Rey be Master and Grogu be Apprentice, that's maybe the biggest box office movie ever.
I mean, you think about it, and we, like you said, we grew up on the prequels. We remember in time going to see those movies, and then, you know, growing up and hearing the discourse about how they fucking sucked and like all this stuff. And, you know, maybe they do, maybe they don't, but we couldn't see it at the time because it was like magic to us. And now we look back and we talk about them much more fondly. We have a much higher praise for the people involved. Thank God we can make things right. Check out the Toxic Fandom article on agentsofandom.com, put together by Damon and Brandon. It's incredible. We should all be better in our inclusive spaces at making everyone feel welcome. But that's neither here nor there. I lost my train of thought because of it, because that was more important. But someone pull me back in here.
Well, I do think it comes back to
that. Yeah, I'm gonna let you go, Damon, because I'm distracted because I had some Roto Grinders shows this morning, and all my calls just fucking spot on. I crushed it today. I said 4 people were gonna home run. All 4 of them home run.
Wow.
Crazy stuff. Take it away, Damon.
I do think it's interesting because you did bring up the toxicity thing. And one other thing I do want to see in this project, and I think a lot of people, the second that this project was announced, is will we finally get Finn as a Jedi? Right? Now, I do not know if John Boyega will return. He's been very vocal that he's done, unfortunately so, but we all completely understand why. And if that is the case, that he doesn't make a return for reasons, at least acknowledge that's what happened and that's what should have happened, and say Rey has trained Jedi before, and this is not going to be her first Jedi training because Finn became the first Jedi under her apprenticeship, and he went on to be extraordinarily successful. We already saw a little bit of it. I know it's not canon, but the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special is about Rey training Finn to be a Jedi. So it is there.
Yeah, I like that, Damon. And then you make him some fabled Jedi, and you know, make stories about him, but you know he's never seen. You know, kind of like we're never explaining Yoda's race, kind of thing. Like make him like do right by John Boyega canonically in the franchise, and if he doesn't want to come back, do something like that and make him. You know, like I 100% agree with you. Right those wrongs. This is the chance. But yeah. It's exciting for Daisy Ridley. I do think hopefully in 20 years people look back more fondly on the sequel trilogy than they do in the midst of it. Like I said, I think Star Wars, Lucasfilm, the company screwed that over by how they divided the movies between the directors. I think if you give either of those men the trilogy in its entirety, it doesn't play out nearly as divisively.
Yeah, and I'm just to wrap this up before we go back to TJ's point, it is true. Rey is people's favorite Skywalker. My little cousin, not even 10, 12 years old, that's her favorite Jedi, right? There you go. Like
that's how we continue a franchise, not us
exactly.
old white men getting angry about stuff.
When that's my favorite Jedi growing up was who? It was Anakin Skywalker. Garrett, and who's my favorite Jedi now? Anakin's
Ahsoka.
Padawan. Exactly. So it may who you grow up with, that's your people, and so it's so great that like that's these people who are growing up with these characters now are going to get them in full force together. The future of Star Wars is looking incredibly exciting right now. One of the most unique and interesting Star Wars projects we've ever seen. First off, in the movies centric universe was Rogue One. It was unprecedented. It came in, it told a little story that connected super well. It was on its own. It was fantastic. Wasn't about a Skywalker until one of them came in at the very end with one of the coolest Star Wars scenes you will ever see. And it also gave us Cassian Andor, who had a brilliant season 1 of television. And they announced at Star Wars Celebration they are eyeing summer 2024 as a release date, so next summer for Andor season 2. They're currently halfway through filming, so that's very exciting as well. Another piece of Star Wars lore that we're going to be getting to fill in here. This happening, I guess, not that far away from Mando. It's after it, but like not that much after it. And so it's some fun stuff kind of coming together with these universes here. And then the final big piece of news that we got to talk about here is there's another Star Wars movie. We talked about 2 pretty big ones that are wildly exciting, but depending on who you ask, this might be the most exciting one of all. And actually, I kind of buried the lead because I forgot about a couple shows before I went to this movie. And so we still got some shows to talk about before we get out of here too. But I want to talk about the last movie for no other reason than because it's up on my screen right now. Dawn of the Jedi, directed by James Mangold, who's also going to be directing and writing the script for the upcoming Swamp Thing movie for DC. I almost said Man Thing, who is, of course, in Werewolf by Night. Swamp Thing DC movie. He also was the director for Logan, one of the very best superhero movies you are ever going to see. And James Mangold will be directing Dawn of the Jedi, a biblical epic explaining where the Force came from. An incredible story about the dawning of the Force. Garrett, where does this movie kind of stack up to you in terms of excitement about the other ones? Because this is something totally new we haven't seen in one of these movies before.
I don't know if I can answer in comparison to the other ones because I'm pretty excited about all of them. I will say there's been a lot of Star Wars movies announcements. I feel like the past couple years, most of them don't come to fruition, and some of them just don't excite me or don't come with a premise at all. Just have a director attached. So I will say I'm cautiously optimistic about all of these, but because they all have premises and I don't see any of these being left on the cutting room floor or having any, like I would imagine these are pretty a go. And they all excite the shit out of me. Like, I don't know. If you would have asked me beforehand or tell me that they're naming 3 movies, like this would have been ideal for me. I honestly am so excited about all of them. I think finally diving into the history of the Force and midichlorians and having a biblical, like a Jesus kind of Jedi figure, like that sounds so fucking awesome to me. It feels crazy to me that we're like so many years into this franchise and this hasn't been explored in this sense yet. So I think it's going to be badass. It's tentatively up at the top of excitement for me. I'll say right below Dave Filoni's movie because Dave deserves it. Like you said earlier, Damon, he really does. And seeing the conclusion of the Mandoverse is going to be really exciting. So I'll say because of the certainty of that movie, I'll put it at the top. But the premise of this has me, it's right under that one for me. It's very exciting.
I'm with you. I'm excited too about the aspect of like, I kind of think of Anakin slash Luke and Leia as almost like the Star Wars Jesus character. And so when I heard biblical, like I thought like just, straight Old Testament. We're getting straight Old Testament. We're going way back there. We're getting people speaking to the universe, Space Moses parting a sea of Purgles.
No.
some crazy, crazy stuff. Damon, I think you know more about like the earlier eras of Star Wars more so than we do. What excites you about this film?
Well, first of all, this is a ballsy film to make. This is risky. This is high risk, high reward. So kudos to them for attempting this in the first place. And James Mangold is a hell of a grab to get to do this, right? So really, it kind of like in terms of history, it's like there's Old Republic and High Republic. Everything else pre-Old Republic,
no one knows.
No one knows, right? It's a big mystery. High Republic is stuff that they're making right now, and that's the tail end of the High Republic is what another show, The Acolyte's coming out, so we'll talk about that in a bit. But in terms of history, this is unexplored territory. This is what people are asking for, right? When we're saying we want stories outside the Skywalker saga, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is what you go after. Now, I was thinking originally like, all right, we're going to go straight into High Republic because that's stuff that's being produced right now. The groundwork is there. You're just going to essentially take that, put it on a screen. It's a safe bet. We're going so far back before that. This is going to be wild, and I cannot wait to see what type of angle they're going to go with this. Like, what is the first lightsaber going to look like?
Yeah.
Just a rock with a kyber crystal sticking out of it.
Yeah, I want them to pull out of their bag for this. Like you're so right, Damon, when you say that people have been clamoring for stories outside of the Skywalker saga. This universe, this galaxy is so massive in whatever era that we're in, let alone when you look at the timeline as a whole. There's so much unexplored territory and so much possible world building. So I want them to do some crazy shit. Make us wild, build your universe, build your lore out. Let's do it. This is your chance.
If there's a theme I want them to go after, personally, I mean, they can do whatever they want, but if there's a theme, I would love to see kind of like how the Ronin is in Visions, like samurai Star Wars style, really like that. That, if you're going to get that type of feel into a live action Star Wars, take my money right now.
While you're taking the money, while you're doing all these things, rate us 5 stars and write a nice little review, and make sure you're following the Agents of Fandom on all the socials, because this is a top tier episode. This is some analysis we are hitting you with right now. Garrett, I agree with your earlier point that like if before this was announced, you said like, TJ, pick 3 Star Wars movies. What are they going to be about? Where are they going to be set? This would have been 1, 2, and 3 on my list. And Damon, I agree with what you said too, in terms of like the risk reward on this is so huge, and at a level of that we haven't seen before, that we haven't seen like literally since the first Star Wars movie, because this impacts everything. Mm-hmm. This impacts everything that's been done ever. You don't like the sequel trilogy? That's fine, because there's still 90% of the Star Wars content, if not more, that's set before it. And you can hope that things get retconned. You can hope that things get changed around, and in the meantime, you can look at all the stuff before it. This is the movie that's going to be retconning things. This is the movie, not necessarily, but changing our perspectives of how we look at things. This is going to set the law, the boundaries. What's a midi-chlorian? What is the Force? Who does the Force exist with? Where does it come from? What was the dawn of it? It's going to set us with rules so that when you Google who is the strongest Jedi, and there's never an answer, because it depends what your criteria is. It depends what you're asking. Who's strongest with the Force? Who's the best with the lightsaber? Who would win in a fight? Because it all means totally different things. and now we're kind of going to get some kind of semblance, some understanding of the Force itself. And that to me is incredibly exciting. They knocked it out of the park with movies. They knocked it out of the park with TV shows. Ahsoka is not the only TV show that is coming. They announced another season of Tales of the Jedi. If you have not checked out Tales of the Jedi, check it out for sure. It follows mostly Ahsoka and Count Dooku, but you see some great Qui-Gon Jinn stuff. You see some great Windu stuff, all of it. And really make sure you check that one out, because season 1 was spectacular. I'm sure season 2 will be as well. The Skeleton Crew is going to be a show that's coming out starring Jude Law, set at the time of the New Republic, around the same time as the sequel trilogy, where Jude Law is going to be running around the galaxy with a bunch of kids, and they're going to be biting off more that they can chew and getting into all kinds of shenanigans. And
what the fuck does that mean?
I don't know. I don't fucking know.
I have no idea what this project is about at all. And the more they say about it, the less I understand. So
I think it'll just be some kids having a crazy galactic summer vacation.
Yeah.
Phineas and Ferb, but in space.
If I'm being honest, they got the 3 big live action movies that are coming. They got the 3 big live action TV shows that are going to be coming in Ahsoka, Skeleton Crew, and The Acolyte. The movies, there's not one of them that I would be like, I can miss this. The TV shows, Ahsoka is maybe the show I'm most excited about of any show ever. Certainly of the Disney Plus shows, I've never been more excited for a show. And that includes all the Marvel ones, and I'm definitely more of a Marvel guy than a Star Wars guy, but still, this Ahsoka show kind of trumps them for me.
Yeah.
But having said that, Skeleton Crew, I'll watch it, we'll cover it, and I'm sure I'll enjoy it. But it kind of has that Andor level to me, where when Andor was announced, and guess what? Andor came out, we covered it, and I loved it.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic. I know. I ate my shorts on that one, because I was talking shit for weeks. And you know what? And I hope that's the case with Skeleton Crew. I hope that we're like, what the fuck is this project? And it comes out and it blows our minds. I hope that's the case. I'll keep going into Star Wars projects with that attitude until it fails me.
Exactly. And Damon, the one I want to throw this to you for is The Acolyte. Because this is a show set toward the end of the High Republic era. You are admittedly more knowledgeable about early days in the High Republic era. But guess what? I'm not knowledgeable about either one of them. What I am excited about for The Acolyte is the potential premise that was released with this movie, where twin Jedis, played by the same actor, twin Force-sensitive babies, were separated at birth.
Babies.
One was raised in the ways of the light. One was raised in the ways of the dark. And they're going to meet up. It's a very diverse cast, a diverse writer's room, and it's looking like it's going to be a hell of a story.
How is that not just the Clone Wars episode of the father and the son and the sister, right? That's what I'm thinking there. How is that not just that? Which is great. That's some of my favorite Clone Wars arcs. I want to know what the hell is going on with them.
And what if the sister and the brother are somehow embodied within these individuals?
Or are the beginning versions of these individuals before they go off and find that whatever planet that they live on? I don't know. So many questions. Sorry, Damon. I know I just snagged the rug out from under you right there. But I needed to get that point out. Back to you.
Well, first of all, I totally think they were getting Hondo Ohnaka in Skeleton Crew. Anyway.
Finally, it's about time we get a live action Hondo. Like, really, some weird. We got it everywhere in Disneyland too.
Get them like in trouble with space pirates. It just makes sense.
That's the only good Star Wars pirate.
Anyway, High Republic is a really crazy, wild era that the books and comics and just Star Wars publishing is still exploring. And phase 1 covered, they do things in phases. Phase 1 covered kind of like the beginning of the fall of the Jedi. And what the High Republic is, this is the Jedi at their most powerful. This is when they're admittedly the most arrogant, the most full of themselves, like nothing can go wrong. Oops, something went wrong. right? Phase 2 of it then went back in time. And then personally, it did lose me a little bit. So I'm more knowledgeable about the first phase of it because I really, really, really loved it. But exploring that age of Jedi is fascinating. Now, Acolyte is going to be at the tail end of it. So we will already start to see the Sith come up, or just like dark side and that aspect of this come up, right? And that's going to be the most fascinating thing about all of this, because we haven't explored that at all in the High Republic yet. If High Republic is just kind of like about Jedi think they patrol the galaxy, they're designated to patrol the galaxy, they set up a plan to do so, oops, there's space Vikings out here to stop them, type of thing, right? And then that's kind of like sort of where we left things off before we go into a new phase of it. I'm excited for the Acolyte, man. This is going to be so cool. I can't think of another word other than cool here, because that's just straight up what it is.
It is. I've been so excited for this project ever since it was announced, because it's the espionage, like assassin vibes that they've been giving off for the entire time has always intrigued me. And when we catch up with the Sith in the prequels, they're this mystery kind of. They're this we haven't seen them in so long kind of thing, where a lot of like Jedi don't even know everything about them. So I'm curious to see where that gets left off in the High Republic era, and how it leads into the Jedi that we grew up with, and how they set themselves up to fall.
The other thing viewers at Star Wars Celebration 2023 were blessed with seeing, including our own Layla and Jaden, was episode 7 of The Mandalorian, which is going to be coming out Wednesday of this coming week here. There's 2 episodes left. Apparently 7 and 8 are going to be the culmination of a lot of things, a lot of storylines coming together, also setting up a lot of the future. Both will be directed by the same director of episode 1, Rick Famuyiwa, who you can find my interview with up on agentsofandom.com, as well as our YouTube page as well. So make sure you check that out. See if he gave some hints towards the end of the season. And I'm really excited about these last 2 episodes. We are going to be covering this one next week. Thursday live show, just like we always are for Mandalorian. This week we're going to be joined by one of our Marvel Madness participants with her very first time on the podcast, Leah Marilla Thomas. And so very excited to have her on the pod, talk some Mandalorian. And make sure you're tuning in with us next week, following us on the socials, stuff like that as well. Damon, you can find on all of the socials, Damon.something. So like Damon streams, Damon tweets, Damon Facebooks, Damon Insta.
Damon
Graham. Oh, you're so close.
Damon.
You are sending people to the wrong place right now.
Oh, man.
Damon.tumblr. Damon.tiktok. Damon
Talks Comics, man. He doesn't even know me.
Damon.bumble. No. Damon is in a long-term relationship. Damon. Marvel Unlimited.
Damon, why don't you tell the people where they can find you specifically?
You can find me on Twitter at Damon2. You can find me on TikTok at Damon Talks Comics. Those are the 2 places you can really find me. And you can find me on the Agents of Fandom website, where I write about comics. And we are really upping our game over at the Agents of Fandom with the Agents of Anime, really getting into that. We are hyped about it. We are really pushing it. Been watching a lot of anime recently, and we are going to pump out that content.
That's so funny. TJ, how long ago did I tell you, like, hey, man, we should start really getting into the anime stuff? Like, I personally, and I've seen Naruto. I love Naruto. That's like the extent of my anime, really. But I knew that was a niche that we needed to get into. How long ago would you estimate I originally said that to you?
Launch?
Yes.
Whenever our launch was.
Yes. It was then. You're right.
Literally when we got our Agents of Fandom emails and we were already on a Crunchyroll list and we were like, TJ, we gotta do something about this.
See, Damon, I told you. So this makes me so excited. I literally can't put it into words. It's something that has been a long journey for me.
And you won't just find them on the website. You'll find them on Damon.MySpace.
Oh, bring that back.
Damon.Podcast.
Yes.
Damon.MSN. Damon.AOL.
AOL.
Damon.RuneScape. Damon.
That was a deep cut.
All of the
Club Penguin?
various Damon.Club, Damon.Yville, Damon.Habbo Hotel.
Yville?
I don't know. Maybe
Is that
it
a
was
Canadian thing?
Who
Maybe.
knows? But you can find Damon there. Thank you to everyone who tuned in.
Puts up with our shit.
This and puts up with the shit, because this was an absolute blast. For more info on Star Wars Celebration, make sure you stay tuned to the Agents of Fandom socials, as well as check out agentsofandom.com, because we have articles and articles and articles and articles dropping. I think we dropped 6 yesterday on Star Wars Celebration, so we're popping right now. And make
More
sure
coming today.
More coming today, exactly. And so thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. On behalf of Damon, Ruben behind the scenes, Garrett, and myself, we will see you next week. Peace.